It's running. Okay, introduction then.
Okay, I'm Duane Barber. I was asked to do this interview by Andy, and I talk about my military experience. I was attended the University of Vermont, was in the ROTC, graduated and was commissioned an infantry officer. I served in Germany for 3 years and then went on to Vietnam. I did not expect to stay in the Army beyond my initial obligation, but ended up in 101st Airborne in Vietnam, and it was a very good unit, good role models. So I was a bachelor at the time, so I stayed a couple more years, and things worked out. I did a second tour in Vietnam. I came back, I went to graduate school, and my Devens experience was from 1976 to 1978, when I was in the 10th Special Forces group here, and I was in the 3rd Battalion, and then went up to be the group adjutant. I did follow-on tours with the 10th Special Forces group in Germany. I stayed 30 years, and I ended up at the Navy War College as a senior Army officer there. Retired in 1993, taught high school at Hyde Park High School in Boston for 10 years, and I've since worked part-time for Northrop Grumman, and I've been a member of the museum board, I think, for 8 years now.
Okay. And what can you tell me about the time at Devens in terms of activities that you were actually involved in here, and
Okay.
things about the post, even just living accommodations and such?
During the 2 years I was here at Fort Devens, I was in one of what they call a tenant organization. Along with, there was an engineer battalion here and quite a few medical battalions and a transportation. When you're in a unit at Fort Devens, your focus is on the unit, not so much the post. At the time, I was a major, and it was all unit focused. We did a lot of overseas training and training in northern New England, and I wanted to live on post, but then again, your quarters are based on your rank and your family size, and after living over in a temporary lodging behind the fire station for I guess a month, and school was starting, we were going on an exercise to Germany. I looked around for a house and ended up buying a house in Harvard, and my family moved in while I was gone. Typical military lifestyle. Most of my focus was on the unit activities. We used to use the Bull Run a lot for social occasions that I recall. The Fort Devens Officers Club, we held most of our formal functions there. We used the normal things, the commissary, the PX. Fortunately, we didn't have too many medical issues, and in those days, the 10th Special Forces group, the doctors treated both the soldiers and the family members. So that was really pretty good. Met a lot of friends here. I always thought I'd be coming back to Fort Devens, and we wanted to come back to Fort Devens. So when we left in '78, I kept my house, thinking going to Washington I'd be able to get an assignment back here. Well, 15 years later, I retired and finally made it back here, and glad we did. And, it was disappointing to come back in '93 and have the 10th Special Forces Group leave in 1996 to go to Fort Carson, because I was, whenever I came on post, I would always see soldiers that I'd served with, always chatted with them, and I miss that a great deal.
Do you have any trivia memories about equipment or facilities on Devens, such as obscure ranges or training facilities? You know, what sort of mechanical facilities were there that you dealt with?
As far as training facilities go, and our whole focus in the unit is on training, right behind the 10th Group headquarters, we had a rappelling tower there that we used to use not only just for conventional rappelling, but ascending as well, and litter carriers, buddy carries, and was often used by youth groups under supervision with us. It was right behind the 10th Special Forces Group headquarters. The other most common unique facility was Turner Drop Zone out in the training area. It was a very short drop, C-130s and C-123s. They would normally fly in here down to Moore Army Airfield. We would go through rigor training, donning the chute, doing a few practice parachute landing falls, rig up, and then circle the facility and do the drops. As I said, it was a short drop zone. I think we couldn't get out maybe more than 10 to 12 men at a time per pass. So there'd be multiple passes. I know there was you go through the sequences, the jump commands, and I know the jump masters would always use a junkyard out in Lunenburg as to we were on the right track in the right direction.
Okay.
We jump year round. Sometimes I recall the snow being waist deep out there, and I recall getting dragged in a parachute across that snow in a big wind.
All right. Did you were you ever associated with the airborne school they had here?
When I was in, yes, the question was the airborne school. I was in 3rd Battalion. We ran the airborne school here. In the 2 years I was here, I think we maybe ran it every year, but for sure we ran it for one summer. And it was mainly focused on personnel assigned to airborne units that were not qualified at the time. Now, we just didn't do this randomly. The airborne school down at Fort Benning had to approve the program of instruction. It was, as I recall, it was a 2-week program. The first week we did the conditioning, running, practicing the landing, and we had a 34-foot tower out just as you go out into the training area, and where they would practice the correct exit from the aircraft. And it went, as I say, 14 continuous days. The second week was jump week, where they would have to do 5 qualifying parachute jumps. I believe most of the soldiers going through that training were National Guardsmen or reservists, but we did have some 10th Special Forces Group soldiers that were in our service company, support company, that were not qualified, that also went through. It was good training, both for the cadre and I'm sure the soldiers.
What were the class sizes that you ran through it, roughly?
I'm guessing, I want to say 200.
Oh, that's quite a few.
I'm going to say 200. At least, I know it was over 100, but I'm going to say at least we started with 200.
Okay.
And there'll be a few ankle injuries and things like that. But yeah, I can find that out for you exactly. But it was a good company size.
Okay. I think that's probably good enough. Thank you then.